One good example of using nested loops is to print patterns. And so we're going to look at some examples here. The first example, we are going to try to create a rectangle. And we're just going to use a C# console program to do this. And we're going to do it with rights and right lines. And we want to write a function called print rectangle that will accept two integer arguments, the height, which would be the number of rows, and the width, which would be the number of columns. So height comes first, and then columns. So if I call print rectangle with a 4 and a 6, it means 4 rows, 6 stars in each row. Okay, and we'll get something that looks like this. So we're looking for patterns here. That's all you ever do when you solve problems. You look for patterns, and let's try to look for some patterns here. I'm going to number my rows 0, 1, 2, 3, and the height is always 4, 4, 4, 4. The width is always 6, 6, 6, 6, and the number of stars is always 6, 6, 6, 6. Okay, so I need to make 4 passes, 4 rows, and I'm going to number my rows 0, 1, 2, and 3. And this tells me how many passes to make, so that's going to be the upper limit of my for loop. And this tells me how many stars to make. Okay, these are always the same. So width will tell me how many stars to do. That'll be my inner loop. And height will tell me how many rows to do, and that will be my outer loop. Okay, so let's take some code here, and we'll copy it to the clipboard. And then I'm going to open up a new console program in C#, and we're going to paste that in, and then we're going to write a solution to this problem. Okay, so I've got a file open here, and it's just a main program, and we're going to paste in the stuff from, let me see, okay, this does not belong in here. We were supposed to write a function that does that. So that is the function header down here. So static void print rectangle, and then we obviously need opening and closing brackets, and I should have copied that down there too. So we don't need that. So we're going to ask the user for the height, which is the number of rows, and we're going to read that in as a string, and we'll convert it to an integer. We're going to ask them for the width. We'll read that in as a string, and we'll convert it to an integer. And then we'll call print rectangle. We'll pass in the height and the width, and we will let print rectangle decide what to do. And height is actually the number of rows. So I think this might make more sense if I call this the number of rows, and if I call this the number of columns. So we'll do rows and columns. So what I want to do here is I want to have an outer loop. And that will go through, if in the case we have here with the number 4 and 6, that'll go through the loop 4 times. Okay. And then what are you doing here? Well, what you're doing here is you, I'm just going to put a comment that says print a row. With that many stars on it. Okay, so cols is the number of stars. It reads kind of awkwardly, but that's what it means. So what if we had another function that printed a row of stars, and all we had to do was print in the star count? Well, that's pretty simple. All you do is just do a right line. No, I'm sorry, a right. I want to stay on the same line. Okay. So, print a row with the specific number of stars. Well, I'm just going to call print row. and I'm going to pass in number of columns, and that is the number of stars to do. Okay, and I think we are going to do it. Now I got an extra character I got to get rid of up here, but now let's go ahead and run this, and we'll see what happens. So we'll do the example that I had in the notes. We'll do a height of 4 and a width of 6, and it doesn't work. We're going to get, they're all appearing on one row. So what did I do wrong? Well, let's get out of here. And I printed out my stars, but when I got done, I forgot to say go down to a new line. So you need to do a right line after you fall out of the loop. So this is the body of the loop. So this will get executed as many times as star count. This gets executed once at the end. So now let's try it again. I'm going to type in a 4 and a 6 again, and it looks like it's working. Hit the enter key to stop it. We'll just try one more, and we'll do 10 and 20. And if we count them up, I shouldn't have done 20, but I can count the rows here pretty easily. There are 10 rows, and I'm pretty sure there are 20 stars in each row. Okay, so that's nested loops. This is the outer loop. In print row, we've got the inner loop. Sometimes it makes sense to just pull that inner loop out and put it into another function like this. Sometimes you just want to keep it up here. It depends. So that takes care of that solution, and we're going to look at a few more problems in the next few videos.